There is a moment when a place realizes you are afraid. That's when it begins to watch you. Room 217 noticed me that night. What follows is not a memory. It's a loop. And it always starts the same way. When I stepped away from the door of room 217, I couldn't feel my feet touching the ground. The corridor stretched unnaturally. A distance that normally took seconds to walk felt like it lasted minutes. The walls seemed to lean toward me, the ceiling slowly lowering. The hotel was shrinking. Or maybe I was. By the time I reached the front desk, I was gasping for air. I grabbed the edge of the counter to keep myself upright. My hands were trembling. My heart was beating like a foreign object inside my chest. I made a conscious decision not to look in the mirror, because if I did, I wasn't sure what I would see. Time wasn't moving. I looked out the window. The fog was exactly the same. It didn't thicken, it didn't lift. It was as if someone had placed a single image outside and forgotten to change it. I had been staring at the same shade of gray for what felt like hours. Somewhere deep inside me, an ancient fear stirred. There would be no more daytime here. I didn't hear the first voice that night. I heard it shortly after. The sound came from inside the wall, right behind me. But when I turned, there was only stone, peeling paint, and years of trapped moisture. Still, the voice was close enough to whisper directly into my ear. A breath, then another, then words. I knew you would come to this point. The voice was mine, but it felt more unfamiliar than my own reflection. It wasn't me speaking. It was someone who knew me far too well. Someone who knew the thoughts I had never spoken aloud, sentences I had buried deep inside myself. I stepped closer to the wall and pressed my forehead against its cold surface. I closed my eyes. There was still a rational part of me fighting to survive. Hallucination, it said. Sleep deprivation. Isolation. But the voice answered those thoughts as if it had heard them. You said that before. My heart began to race. How many times have you said it? The voice asked. Don't you remember? I didn't. But the words, how many times, lodged themselves into my mind like a nail. This wasn't the first time. The version of me inside the wall began to tell me about my past. Small details, things I had never shared with anyone. The dark corners I was afraid of as a child. The steps I used to count before falling asleep. It was impossible for anyone else to know these things. I am you, the voice finally said. And the first time you came here, you were just as afraid. My knees gave out. I collapsed onto the floor. The voice softened, almost comforting. The beginning is the hardest part, it said. After that, you get used to it. I stood up and headed for the stairs. I remember reaching the 3rd floor, but I couldn't count the steps. I didn't know how many I climbed. The corridor was longer than it should have been. The door to room 217 was open again. But this time, the room was different. It wasn't the room I had entered before. Same number, same door, but the inside belonged to somewhere else. The walls were breathing. slowly expanding and contracting, as if the room were alive and I had accidentally stepped inside it. The moment I entered, all the voices stopped. This silence wasn't like the one outside. This was a deliberate silence, the kind that comes when something chooses not to speak. I walked toward the bathroom. When I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection lagged behind by a few seconds. I lowered my head. The reflection kept staring at me. Then it moved, but we were no longer in sync. The version of me in the mirror was thinner. The skin under its eyes had sunken in. There was a dark mark around its neck, like a rope burn. "Don't look," the reflection said. "It's too early." I stepped back. "Don't close the room," it said. "If this room is closed, the ones inside can't get out." "Who's inside?" I asked. The reflection looked straight at me. "Us." When I returned downstairs, I saw the drawer beneath the front desk. I was certain it hadn't been there before. Absolutely certain. And yet, there it was. I opened it. Tapes. The moment I held them, a voice inside me warned me not to listen. But there was no turning back now. I inserted the tape. The first recording was calm, normal. It was my voice, but not broken yet. "The night shift is quieter than I expected," it said. "This hotel is strange, but there's something beautiful about it." The second tape was slower. "I keep dreaming about room 217. The door is open. Someone is inside, but I can't see their face." On the third tape, the voice was shaking. "Someone is speaking from inside the walls. They're calling me by my name." It said my name. I stopped the tape. My hands were ice cold. Then I played the final one. For a long time there was only breathing. Then the sound of a chair, the sound of a rope, and a whisper. "The one who comes after me will listen to this." When the tape ended, the lights at the front desk flickered off for a moment, then came back on. The clock on the wall worked, just for a second. 217. The voice behind the wall spoke one last time. "You're not alone anymore," it said, "and you never will be." Upstairs, the door to room 217 slowly closed. There was no sound of a lock, because the lock had been turned from the inside. I thought I left the room behind. But places like this don't stay in one location. Room 217 doesn't exist on a floor. It exists in time. And if you're listening to this, you're already standing in front of its door.